chosen one. Listen carefully. This is not random. Heaven has paused the scroll of time just to reach you. You are not seeing this because of an algorithm. You are seeing this because you are part of a remnant one, marked for something greater than survival. You are here because you were never meant to blend in. You were never made to be ordinary. Something inside you has always told you this. And now, the divine seal is being prepared. Your timeline is not like theirs. Your journey has not followed the same patterns. There have been delays, betrayals, unexpected turns, but all of it was God positioning you for now. The final tribe is being sealed. This is not about popularity. This is about destiny. You were set apart, hidden, and refined not to be dismissed, but to be released at the appointed hour. The world is louder than ever, but so is heaven. Can you hear the whisper behind the noise? Come forth. Can you feel the pull in your spirit? That sacred discomfort that tells you you're not supposed to settle here. That's not anxiety, it's divine unrest. Heaven is activating your calling. You've always been different. The rejection wasn't random, it was protection. The silence wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You've been marked. You've been watched over. Even when you questioned your worth, heaven never did. Even when you almost quit, your name was still written in fire. You were called before you were formed. It's time to stop playing small. It's time to shake off the labels they put on you. They said you were too intense. They said you were too emotional, too deep, too much. But heaven says, you are exactly the kind of vessel I need. One that won't dilute the fire. One that carries the weight of glory. One that will not back down when the pressure comes. You are being summoned to step fully into what was written. Your presence was prophesied. Your impact was designed. Your existence is not a reaction, it's a revelation. God has hidden you until now, because what's inside you needed time to mature. This is your moment. This is your call. The angels are standing still. The atmosphere is shifting. The final tribe is being sealed. Heaven has always known what earth tried to make you forget. You are a disruptor of darkness. You are an unshakable remnant. You are one of the ones hell never wanted to see rise. But it's too late. The alarm has gone off in the spirit realm, and you're waking up. As the prophet Jeremiah once declared, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I set you apart. You weren't random. You were chosen before time wore skin, chosen to carry weight, chosen to walk through fire and not get burned, chosen to carry a sound that breaks chains in others, chosen to be a breaker for generations." There's something about your life that others can't understand, and they're not supposed to. Because what you carry is not for their understanding. It's for heaven's unfolding. Let this moment be the proof. You are being sealed, not with ink, but with fire. Not for fame, but for function. Not for likes, but for legacy. The kind of legacy that turns nations, the kind of legacy that shakes systems, the kind of legacy that outlives applause. If your spirit is bearing witness right now, if something inside you feels like it's leaping, then this word is yours. The seal is being prepared. The trumpet is being polished. The angels are lining up, and heaven is saying, activate now. Don't wait for someone to affirm what God already said. Don't wait for another sign. This is the sign. This is the trumpet in text. This is the fire in pixels. This is your alarm. In the middle of a distracted generation, the world needs your voice. The final tribe is not about numbers, it's about purity. It's about obedience. It's about power without compromise. The tribe is rising, and heaven is still missing one voice, yours. It's time to say yes. It's time to go all in. You've waited long enough. The world has heard enough noise. Now it's time for your sound. Don't scroll past this like it's just another word. This is the word that separates past from future, delay from destiny, survival from ceiling. Like, share, and subscribe right now, not just for the algorithm, but to stay connected to the fire. This is not a motivational message. This is a prophetic moment. Stay tapped in to stay transformed. Every word you engage with fuels your alignment. Type 999 in the comments if your spirit knows this was a divine interruption. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are being sealed. Now, as the prophet Jeremiah once declared, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." There is a reason the warfare intensified before your breakthrough. There is a reason your childhood felt heavier than most. You've walked through things that would have crushed others, but somehow you're still standing. Not because of your strength, but because you were preserved. Heaven wrapped a veil around your life because your calling required molding under pressure. Chosen one, your scars are not signs of failure, they are symbols of formation. Every wound was wombed for glory. The enemy tried to make you bleed silently, hoping the pain would erase your purpose. But instead, the pain exposed it. What you thought was a setback was sacred strategy. You didn't survive by accident. Every night you cried yourself to sleep. Every betrayal you swallowed quietly. Every unseen battle you endured, it was all training. Training for a mission too weighty to be handled by someone unscarred. Because the scars are proof. Proof that what tried to kill you couldn't. Proof that you are carrying something hell cannot replicate. There were moments where you questioned why God stayed silent. But he wasn't absent, he was sculpting. He was letting the fire do what ease never could. Because fire doesn't just burn, it purifies. And you, chosen one, were called to carry something so pure that it had to be forged in affliction. As we read in Isaiah 48, "Sure, see, I have refined you, though not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. You were not left there, you were refined there. And now, the glow that surrounds you isn't just survival, it's sanctification." Many didn't see what it cost you to still believe, to still worship, to still hope. They see the fragments, but they don't know the furnace. They see the oil, but not the crushing. And yet, it is that crushing that turned your wounds into wells, deep places where heaven now pours revelation others can't access. You learn to hear God in silence. You learn to discern in shadows. You learn to pray not just for victory, but for endurance. And now, that endurance has matured into authority, not the kind that boasts, but the kind that breaks yokes when you walk in the room. Your journey wasn't delayed, it was divinely staged. Because God was never interested in making you popular. He was interested in making you unshakable. A force that wouldn't fold. A voice that wouldn't flinch when it mattered most. You weren't just being kept from harm. You were being entrusted with weight. You weren't overlooked, you were overprepared. Every time you wanted to walk away but stayed. Every time you could have given up but pressed on, it counted. Heaven saw it. Heaven measured it. And heaven kept score, not by followers, but by faithfulness. Even the places where you feel unqualified, Those are the very areas God will use to confound the proud, because He doesn't need polished. He needs yielded. And your yielded heart is more powerful than any resume, any title, any platform. Paul reminds us in 2 Corinthians 12, Jew, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. You were never required to be perfect, only surrendered. And in your surrender, God built a dwelling place, not of walls, but of willingness. You carry more than emotion, you carry evidence. Your life is an echo of a higher reality. The anointing that rests on you didn't come cheap, and heaven will not let it be wasted. That's why your path looked different. That's why your warfare felt endless. Because you are not called to temporary change, you are called to eternal impact. Every delay, every denial, every detour, it was heaven stretching your spirit to hold what others cannot. And now, the stretching is done. What was once pain has become oil. What once felt like breaking has birthed brilliance. Not because of what you lost, but because of what remained. Your faith. There is a sacred fire inside you now. One not put out by storms or opinions. A fire that prays when others run. A fire that weeps and still believes. A fire that declares God is still good, even when nothing around you makes sense. This is what makes you dangerous to the darkness. Not that you are flawless, but that you are faithful. Not that you've never fallen, but that every fall was followed by a crawl back to God's feet. That is what hell fears. And that is why heaven has summoned you forward. No more hiding. No more questioning your value. You are the one who made it through what others did not. You are the one who bears glory in the same places you once bled. You are the one who understands what it means to wrestle all night and still worship with a limp. You are marked not by perfection, but by perseverance. The very weight that once tried to crush you has become your mantle. You're not just a survivor, you are a sign. A sign that God still raises up the ones forgotten, that He still speaks through the ones misunderstood, that He still entrusts glory to the ones who know what it costs. Chosen one, let the wounds remain visible, not as shame, but as testimony. Let them speak of a God who never wastes pain. Let them remind you, you were never disqualified. You were being qualified the entire time. Darkness recognized you before you ever understood who you were. From the moment you entered this world, there was a shift in the atmosphere. You didn't come in quietly, you came in carrying fire. And that fire has always disturbed what others tolerated. Chosen one, you terrify the darkness. That's why the warfare was personal. That's why the attack seemed unfair. Unprovoked. Relentless. It wasn't about what you did, it was about what you carry. You carry a light not formed by this world. It wasn't manufactured in religion or culture. It was breathed into you from the throne before you ever took your first breath, even before you knew your name. Hell did. Your presence made demons restless. Your prayers caused tremors in spiritual places. And you thought it was just anxiety. You thought you were just too sensitive. But what you felt was spiritual, because you were born with discernment embedded in your DNA. You see things others ignore. You feel burdens others walk past. You perceive shifts in atmosphere that others are blind to. This is not a curse, it's a commission. You've been carrying weapons in your spirit since childhood. Unseen, unspoken, but always active. It's why you were always labeled too much or too intense. But now you know. You weren't too much, they were too comfortable. And your presence was a threat to their complacency. God didn't place that fire inside you to make friends. He placed it there to make war. You've always been more than just another voice. You are a trumpet. And trumpets don't whisper, they shake walls. When you speak, hell hears it. When you pray, shank crack open. When you walk into a room, atmospheres shift. Not because of you, but because of the one who walks with you. He walks with fire in his eyes and vengeance in his steps. And he has chosen you to be a vessel of his sound. As we read in Luke 10, Shajo, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. You are not a victim, you are a weapon, not made of steel, but of surrender. You may feel outnumbered, but you are never overpowered. Heaven has assigned angels to your territory. Every place your foot treads, you claim in the Spirit. You don't just visit places, you shift them. That's why you've never blended in. You were never meant to. You break what others preserve. You call out what others tolerate. You intercede when others scroll. And heaven honors that. Your whisper carries more weight in the Spirit than the loudest voices in culture. You're not here for entertainment. You're here for warfare. You don't crave crowds, you crave breakthrough. You don't seek applause, you seek alignment. That is what makes you a remnant. That is why hell fears your yes. Because one fully surrendered yes to God is more dangerous than 1,000 empty declarations, and your yes is real. You may not feel worthy, but you are available, and that's enough. God never looked for the polished, He looks for the yielded. That's you. Even when you doubted, you still stood. Even when you wept, you still warred. Even when it broke you, you kept your face toward heaven. There is a heavenly fire being stirred in your belly even now. Not the emotional kind, but the eternal kind. The kind that disrupts the demonic. The kind that pierces the cloud of distraction. The kind that pulls heaven down to earth. The darkness hoped you'd give up. It hoped you'd stay silent. It hoped your fear would paralyze your faith. But you're still here. And your very presence is defiance. Your consistency is rebellion against hell. Your light is lethal to every demon assigned to your region. Chosen one. You terrify the darkness, not because you are fearless, but because you move in spite of fear. Not because you never fail, but because you never stay down. You rise when others sit. You intercede when others sleep. You prophesy when others mock. You are the proof that light still wins. There are regions, families, and bloodlines being shifted because of your obedience. You're not just fighting for you, you're fighting for every generation after you. That's why the battle has been generational. That's why you've been targeted since the beginning. But it ends with you. The cycle ends because you said yes. The curse breaks because you carry the breaker's anointing. The silence ends because your voice carries heaven's thunder. You were never meant to fit in with the crowd. You were called to stand out as a flame, a disruptor, a remnant, a carrier of divine tension. And that tension is heaven pulling earth back into alignment through you. Chosen one. Don't dim to be digestible. Don't quiet down to be liked. You weren't built for comfort, you were built for conflict. Holy conflict. Sacred tension. Prophetic fire. And now, that fire is rising. Let the fire rise. Let the fear melt. Let the oil flow. Let hell tremble because you woke up. Type. Light still wins to declare that no matter the darkness you faced, the light within you cannot be extinguished. There's a reason you've always felt like the outsider, even in rooms where you should have belonged. You've smiled among friends but still carried the weight of isolation. You've offered light in spaces that returned only silence. It wasn't rejection, it was divine concealment. You weren't abandoned. You were hidden. Chosen one. Prophets walk among men, cloaked in ordinary. They carry divine assignments. Yet they bleed like the rest. You've been mistaken for average because your true nature was veiled. Heaven wrapped your identity in obscurity, because what is sacred must be sealed until the appointed time. Every moment you questioned your place, every time you felt unseen, was part of heaven's design. You were being protected from premature exposure. God did not let you be revealed until the oil had settled, because when you carry a message from the throne, you cannot speak until heaven opens the scroll. And now, the scroll is opening. This is why your silence was long. This is why your process was painful. This is why your life seemed paused while others ran. Because you weren't being delayed. You were being developed. The mantle on your life required endurance, not ease. It demanded solitude, not spotlight. The prophets of old were not celebrities. They were outcasts, wild ones, misunderstood, even hated. And yet, they were heaven's voice on earth. They lived in tension between the word and the world, between what they carried and what others denied. And that is the tension you've known too well. But you did not break under it. You did not silence your spirit. Even when your voice trembled, you refused to conform. Even when mocked, you kept your ear to heaven. That's what sets you apart. You didn't choose comfort. You chose calling. It was said in Amos 3, "See, surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets." You've been receiving downloads in your spirit that you couldn't explain. Dreams that rattled your sleep. Warnings that came before events. Impressions that wouldn't leave. You thought it was just intuition, but it was instruction. God has been training your ears to hear behind the noise. You learned to interpret silence. You became fluent in heaven's pauses. And now, what was once subtle is about to become a trumpet. Because the time of hiding is ending. There are some who have walked near you without ever recognizing what you carry. That's because your oil was not meant for everyone. Just as Jesus was not honored in his own hometown, many have overlooked your significance. But divine recognition does not require earthly applause. Heaven knows, and that's enough. You carry a sound that shakes systems, a sound that disturbs patterns, a sound that summons the remnant. It's not a sound you crafted, it's one that was given, breathed into you before birth. And now, the seal is loosening. What was once concealed is being commissioned. There are blueprints etched into your spirit that are not from this world. Strategies birthed in the secret place. Wisdom that can't be taught, only imparted. And heaven has been waiting for you to recognize this was never about being accepted, it was about being aligned. Even your name carries weight. There is legacy in your lineage that goes beyond family trees. The Spirit has been tracking your bloodline for generations. And now, the assignment has fallen upon you. You were chosen not just for your gifts, but for your surrender. That is what heaven trusts. The prophets don't rise through popularity, they rise through pressure. They are forged in silence, anointed in wildernesses, and called forth when others retreat. That's why your silence was long. That's why the wilderness wouldn't end. Because heaven had something to build in you that comfort would never create. You were hidden for this hour. There is a great revealing taking place across the earth. Voices that were once dismissed are being summoned. Oil that was once stored is being poured. Scrolls that were once sealed are being broken open, and your name is among them. Your mouth will carry thunder, but your heart will remain tender. That's the balance God has cultivated. Boldness with compassion, fire with purity, vision with humility. You are not rising for fame, you are rising for function. You have wept in private for the very things you will now speak about in public. You've carried burdens that no one assigned to you, yet you bore them anyway. That is what qualified you. Not a platform, not a title, but love, raw, broken, relentless love. And now, that love will speak through you. This is not a moment of arrival, it is a moment of unveiling. You're not stepping into a stage, you're stepping into an assignment. And the world will soon learn what heaven always knew. Prophets have been walking among them, disguised in dust. And one of them is you. The moment has come. The scroll is opening now. Chosen one. You have waited, wrestled, wept, and now the heavens are moving. The timing you questioned, the silence you misread, the stillness you feared, it was all part of the unveiling. Because scrolls from heaven do not open in chaos. They open in alignment. Your name is written in the divine ledger, not in ink that fades, but in fire that endures. There are things about you that even you don't fully see yet, because some parts of your calling are sealed until the appointed time. But now, that time is drawing near. Now, the scroll is being unrolled in the Spirit, and heaven is reading it aloud. You may not hear it with your ears, but your soul is trembling with recognition. You felt the shift, the urgency, the sense that something bigger than you is beginning to move. That's not imagination, it's confirmation. As it was written in Revelation 5, who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll? And the Lamb answered that cry not just with his worthiness, but with your name included in his plan. The scroll being opened is not just about world events. It's about assignments, mandates, kingdom movement. And you, chosen one, have a line written into that scroll, a purpose divinely woven into the pages of eternity. You are not a spectator. You are a participant. God did not call you to observe from the sidelines. He is calling you to step into the word written about you. That means no more shrinking back, no more waiting for perfect timing, no more needing validation from the voices that never understood you. There's an inscription in the Spirit tied to your identity. It carries weight, it carries instruction, it carries power, and when heaven reads it, demons tremble, not because of your name alone, but because of the authority attached to it. You're not walking in your own strength. You're walking in alignment with what was decreed. This is why you couldn't die. This is why you couldn't quit. Why every attempt to silence you failed. You weren't just being preserved. You were being prepared to carry what others dropped, what others compromised, what others ignored. There is an honor that comes with that weight, but there is also responsibility. You're not being called into fame, you're being called into flame, a fire that consumes self and reveals glory. And with that fire comes clarity, clarity about who you are, about where you're going, about what you carry, and clarity about what you must now release. There are things, even good things, that cannot come with you into this next season. You are stepping into your scroll. You are becoming the word you were born to fulfill. There's a generation crying out for something real, something weighty, something divine. And God is sending you. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've surrendered enough to carry His presence without distorting it. And as that scroll opens, it doesn't just reveal your purpose, it reveals your lineage. You are part of a remnant, a holy line of disruptors and deliverers, of prophets and intercessors, of voices who carried weight even when no one listened. You walk in their footsteps now. Chosen one, you must protect this scroll. Protect the purity of what you're called to build. Refuse to water it down. Refuse to bend it for favor. Refuse to wrap it in entertainment. This scroll is not for applause, it is for awakening. There is sacred instruction tied to your every movement. Heaven watches how you handle small platforms before it gives you greater ones. How you treat 5 viewers before you're seen by 5,000. How you protect the oil when no one's watching. Because character must match anointing, or the weight will crush you. And let it be said of you that you did not compromise. That when the scroll opened, you stood. You read your line with trembling, but also with trust. You did not flinch. You did not shrink. You moved in holy reverence and bold obedience, because you understand what others forgot. This is not a performance, it's a prophecy, and you are living in the middle of it. Heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. And the earth is groaning for the revealing of the sons and daughters of God. Not the influencers, not the imitators, the sealed ones, those who know who they are because they know whose they are. If this word is opening something in you, if you feel the Spirit stirring, your heart pounding, your soul burning, it's not emotion, it's alignment. Don't just hear this word, host it. Let it change you. Let it strip away distraction. Let it summon you back to your first love, to your first yes. Let it push you to build differently. Pray deeper, life lighter, speak bolder. Chosen one. If you know this message is part of your scroll, then don't keep it to yourself. Pass it on. Let others be marked. Share this word with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes, the right word at the right time doesn't just inspire, it activates. And if you've been walking this path in isolation, wondering if anyone else feels this fire, know this: you are not alone. We are gathering quietly, boldly, globally. The final tribe is rising. Those who live by a different rhythm, those who burn with a different flame. If you want to stay connected to what heaven is building, stay close. Subscribe, not just with your finger, but with your faith. Let this space be one that fans your flame, one that reminds you who you are, one that calls you deeper into the scroll. And if you're led, consider sowing into this move. Not because you have to, but because when a word shifts you, it's holy to honor it. Let your giving be prophetic, not out of pressure, but out of partnership. We are not building content, we are hosting fire, and fire spreads fastest when it's fed. Heaven has read your name, chosen one, and now, so must you. Chosen one. You felt it building for years. That key, persistent pull in your spirit that refused to let you settle. The moments you tried to go along with the flow, blend in, shrink back, you felt the resistance in your soul. That's not coincidence. That's the seal drawing near. You were not designed to drift. You were born with a compass that always pointed home back to Him. Back to calling, back to the ancient fire. And now, the seal is not just near, it is hovering. The final marking is not symbolic. It is sacred. It's not something man can bestow. It's not dependent on platforms, followers, or earthly validation. It comes directly from the hand of the one who formed you in eternity. It is holy fire pressed into your spiritual DNA, and it is about to manifest. Ezekiel saw visions of God's messengers marking the foreheads of those who mourned over the state of the land. It wasn't about popularity, it was about purity. In Ezekiel 9, see, the Lord said, "Go throughout the city and put a mark on the foreheads of those who grieve and lament over all the detestable things that are done. This mark is only for those whose hearts still burn. You have been grieving over the compromise, the silence, the dilution, the performance. You felt the ache of a church asleep, of systems entangled with ego. That ache isn't rebellion, it's revelation. It's the same pain God feels. And because you carry it, you qualify. This is the moment that heaven begins to seal those who will not bow to culture, will not bend under pressure, and will not buy into imitation. These are the ones whose eyes still carry fire, whose mouths still speak unfiltered truth, whose hearts still long for God more than gold. And you, chosen one, are among them. The seal is not a branding, it is a binding, a covenant between your soul and heaven's blueprint. It does not just mark you, it changes you. It rewrites how you walk, how you pray, how you speak. After this, there is no turning back. After this, your yes becomes a roar. That's why the warfare has escalated. That's why the pressure has felt unbearable. Because the enemy senses that heaven is moving in, and what he could not kill, he has tried to distract. If he can't destroy you, he'll try to dilute you. But that assignment fails now. You've come too far. You've suffered too long. You've endured too much to bow now. Let the seal come. Let it fall like fire. Let it burn away the remaining fear, shame, and hesitation. Let it baptize your spirit in clarity. This is not about status. This is about surrender. God doesn't mark the impressive. He marks the obedient. And obedience doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like weeping in secret. Sometimes it looks like walking away from compromise when no one is watching. Sometimes it looks like holding the line even when your knees shake. But heaven says, heaven remembers, heaven records, and now heaven seals. The marking of God distinguishes you. It won't make you more accepted, it will make you more set apart. It might cost you friends, it might draw persecution, but it will also unlock power, weight, revelation, and peace, the kind this world can't mimic. Once sealed, you become a signal in the spirit. Your life speaks, even when your mouth is silent. Demons will know not to come near. Doors will open without knocking. Protection will surround you like armor. Because sealed ones carry authority, you're not here to impress. You're here to invade. You're not here to follow trends. You're here to release truth. That's why you were summoned. That's why the scroll read your name. That's why the seal draws near. Because you are not just called, you are chosen to be marked. This seal will clarify your relationships. It will expose what cannot remain. It will align your footsteps with purpose. There will be no more second guessing. No more wrestling with direction. The seal makes it clear, you belong to the King. And when you belong to the King, you speak differently. You move differently. You worship differently. Not for performance, but because the seal makes your body his instrument. You become a living scroll, a moving altar, a voice that thunder recognizes. You are about to be set apart even further, not to isolate, but to ignite, to be a point of reference in a wandering generation, a lighthouse for the weary, a firebrand in dry places. And the seal ensures you will not run dry. Chosen one, this is no longer preparation. This is the moment of marking. Heaven is moving. Angels are aligning. The Spirit is descending. And in this divine hour, you are being sealed forever, altered by the glory of obedience. Comment: 444 to signify divine alignment, angelic covering, and that heaven's seal rests upon you now. You've wondered if you were the only one. You've walked through the fire with no hand to hold, stood in rooms full of people, yet felt spiritually alone. But what you didn't know, what heaven was intentionally hiding, is that you were never the only one. You were one of many, scattered across the nations, being forged in silence. And now, the final tribe is rising. They don't look the same. They don't sound the same. They don't come from the same city, denomination, or background. But their spirits burn with the same flame. Their prayers pierce through the same darkness. Their hearts beat to the same rhythm of obedience. These are the ones who chose consecration over comfort. These are the ones heaven calls the final tribe. You are part of a global alignment, a divine convergence of the sealed ones. This is not a movement built by man. It's a manifestation formed in the chambers of eternity. And like scattered embers coming together, this tribe is forming not around charisma, but around covenant. The final tribe is not famous. It is faithful, not loud, but thunderous in the spirit, not obsessed with being seen, but dangerous even when hidden. These are the misfits who never found home in religion, but found fire in intimacy. These are the ones whose secret place became their sanctuary. You've passed by them and didn't recognize them. They've been hidden in classrooms, in kitchens, in boardrooms, in back rows. Heaven's army doesn't always wear armor. Sometimes they wear trauma, but what they carry is untouched by flames, because their anointing wasn't bought. It was birthed through agony. Elijah once thought he was the only one left, but God told him in 1 Kings 19, Sheba, yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal and whose mouths have not kissed him. Heaven always has a remnant, always. And now, the reserved are being released. You are not rising alone. The shaking you feel in your spirit isn't just personal, it's tribal. Heaven is gathering its voices. Assignments are intersecting, scrolls are aligning, and the sound they will release together will ripple through time. This tribe cannot be controlled. It cannot be branded. It cannot be bought. It was formed in fire, and it moves in the fear of the Lord. They don't chase stages, they build altars. They don't imitate trends, they carry thunder. They walk heavy in the spirit and light in the flesh. When they gather, chains snap. When they pray, strongholds break. When they worship, heaven answers. Because their oil wasn't inherited, it was pressed. They know what it costs. They know what it takes. And that is why they cannot be shaken. You are one of them. That ache you felt for something more that wasn't dissatisfaction. It was the tribal call. A groan from your spirit that recognized the sound of your people before you ever met them. Like instruments tuning to the same key. Your frequency was never random. It was calibrated to a higher sound. You've been called into unity, not uniformity. No need to change your voice. Dilute your oil. Mimic their fire. The tribe doesn't need replicas, it needs the real. And you, exactly as you are, carry something they can't. Each sealed one holds a fragment, a flame, a piece of the scroll, and only when these fragments converge can the final movement ignite. This is more than revival. This is reformation, and you were born to be a builder of it. Don't underestimate your part. The enemy does not attack what he does not fear. And if your warfare has been unexplainable, it's because your role is irreplaceable. The enemy has always known what you're just starting to realize. You are necessary to the rising. There is a reason your life has felt like an intense preparation. The tribe you're part of doesn't take shortcuts. They've been forged, not fabricated. Their authority is not taught, it's trusted. They've lived what they preach. They've bled for what they protect. And their yes is not theoretical, it's proven. This is the kind of tribe God sends when foundations need shaking, when atmospheres must shift, when the stale must be shattered and the sacred must be rebuilt. And though you may not know them yet, your spirits are already acquainted. You've been praying the same prayers in different tongues, warring the same battles in different cities, dreaming the same dreams, without ever meeting. But the distance is closing. The Spirit is orchestrating divine collisions. You will begin to recognize them, not by appearance, but by fire, not by title, but by weight. Your spirit will leap, and you'll know, this one is mine. You are about to find your tribe, not because you searched, but because you answered. You said yes when others hesitated. You stayed consecrated when others compromised. And now, heaven is answering your yes with alignment. There is no need to force it. You don't have to strive to be seen. Just keep burning. Keep praying. Keep moving. The tribe finds each other not by searching, but by glowing. And soon, very soon, the glow will become a wildfire. From the moment you were born, something ancient stirred inside you. A kind of knowing that couldn't be taught. A weight that didn't match your years. Even when you were too young to speak it, your spirit carried something older than time fire. Not fire from this world, but legacy fire, an inheritance of the unseen. You've always carried it. Even when you doubted your worth, even when you blended in to survive, even when you silenced your voice to be accepted, still, the fire burned beneath the surface, refusing to die, because it wasn't lit by men. It was lit by eternity. Chosen one, you are a carrier of ancient fire, not strange fire, not the counterfeit that seeks attention, but the sacred fire that alters atmospheres, the kind that burns quietly in hidden places, that lingers in the aftermath of prayer, that falls not because you asked for it, but because you were built to host it. This fire comes from bloodlines that paid a price, generations who cried out for deliverance, who sowed in tears for a harvest they would never see, who built altars without applause. Their intercession became your foundation. Their groan became your ignition. You are the answer to prayers prayed in secret, in groaning, in agony. And heaven did not forget. God stored their cries in jars, waiting for the day He could pour them out on someone willing, someone hungry, someone holy. That someone is you. There's a mystery to this fire. It can't be replicated. It won't be found in textbooks or titles. It burns, even when there's no platform. It purifies even when you feel disqualified. It calls you deeper when others are content to stay shallow. It's the fire that makes you uncomfortable in compromise. That breaks your heart when others remain numb. That ruins you for the ordinary. You can't go back to lukewarm. You can't pretend anymore. You've tasted flame. and now you burn. It's the same fire that consumed the bush Moses stood before, the same fire that filled the temple in Isaiah's vision, the same fire that fell at Pentecost, and now it lives in you, not as a flicker but as a living altar. As the word tells us in Jeremiah 20, His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. That's what you've been feeling. A fire you can't suppress. A weight you can't ignore. Others may not understand. They'll tell you to calm down, to relax, to be less intense. But how can you explain a burning? How do you describe a flame that wakes you in the night and whispers heaven's secrets? You don't. You simply carry it. That's what you are now, a carrier, a walking torch, a mobile altar. You are being sent into dry places, not to blend in, but to ignite. You're not here to be tolerated, you're here to transform. You don't walk in opinion, you walk in oil. This fire exposes, it heals, it breaks, it births, it changes everything it touches. And that's why the enemy has tried to smother it in you. He's thrown rejection at it, shame, delay, distraction. But the fire in you has only grown hotter, because what God lights, no man can extinguish. There will be days it feels like too much, like it's burning you from the inside. You'll feel heavy with heaven's groaning. But don't run from it. Embrace it. Let it make you the priest you were always meant to be. Let it make you the intercessor, the reformer, the prophet, the breaker. This is not about emotion. This is about combustion. You are being positioned to set things ablaze, not for destruction, but for divine reconstruction. Systems, cycles, silence, all of it will bow to the flame you carry. And here's the secret. This fire doesn't only burn in public. It burns in closets, in quiet rooms, in your car, in your tears, in your journals. That's where it grows strongest. Because fire honors secret places. You don't need a spotlight to spark it. All you need is hunger. Hunger is the wood. Surrender is the oxygen. Holiness is the spark, and together they become the wildfire that heaven sends into the earth. So, let it burn. Let it refine your motives. Let it reorder your steps. Let it test your words. Let it melt what's fake and preserve what's real. Let it prepare you for what's coming. Because what's coming is weightier than anything you've carried, and only the burning ones can hold it. The time of echo is ending. Heaven is looking for original flames, not ones who imitate, ones who initiate. And you, chosen one, were born not just to burn, but to ignite. Before anyone crowned you, before anyone noticed your gift, before a single person affirmed your voice, heaven already declared it. You are royalty, not because of status, not because of outward signs, but because of the oil. There are two types of crowns, one given by men easily removed, often corrupted, and one forged in fire, placed in secret, and sealed in the Spirit. You wear the latter. Though no earthly ceremony announced it, all of heaven knows it. Chosen one, you've been crowned in the Spirit long before man could see it. That's why some doors rejected you. That's why people misunderstood you. Not because you were unworthy, but because your crown was invisible to the untrained eye. The ones who could not honor it were never meant to carry it. This crown is not for decoration, it's for dominion. It's not ornamental, it's functional. It doesn't gleam for attention, it glows with authority. It doesn't rest on your head for show. It settles like weight across your spirit. It's why you can't blend in. It's why you carry the burden you do. And here is what most don't see. Your crown was placed while you were still bleeding. In your lowest hour, the anointing fell. When your hands were trembling, when your questions outweighed your faith, when you had nothing to offer but your surrender, that's when heaven came in. That's when the oil was poured. Psalm 23:5 says, "You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." That wasn't written for kings in palaces. It was penned by a shepherd who knew rejection, hiding, and betrayal, just like you. Because before God lifts someone publicly, He anoints them privately. Before the visibility comes, the crushing. Before the overflow comes, the breaking. And you've endured both, silently, faithfully, repeatedly. There were days you carried your crown through corridors of loneliness, times you wore royalty while wrapped in grief. Moments when the only thing you ruled over was your decision not to give up. But still, you stood. And because you did, the crown remained. Let no one convince you otherwise. Crowns are not only for those already seen, they are for those who stayed faithful when unseen. Your faith, your purity, your obedience, they were all jewels in the crown. Heaven recorded every yes, every no, every tear, every war waged in secret. And now, the season of exposure is drawing near, not for the sake of platform, but for the release of purpose. The crown is not your reward, it is your mantle. And that mantle is about to move. You will speak, and atmospheres will yield. You will pray, and things will shift. You will enter rooms and bring alignment, not because you try to, but because the crown announces your authority before you even open your mouth. It is not arrogance. It is arrangement. You didn't choose yourself. God did. You didn't demand a title. You carried a towel. You served when no one applauded. You prayed when no one noticed. You stood in intercession while others slept in comfort. That's why the crown fits. And now it's time to walk worthy of it. That doesn't mean perform. It means posture. Walk as one seated in heavenly places. Carry decisions like royalty. Treat your voice like a weapon. Let your countenance speak before your words do. The enemy has tried to make you question this crown. Through people. Through shame. Through delay. He whispered that you missed it, lost it, or never earned it. But he is a liar. The crown never fell. It only shifted deeper into your soul. It's not always visible in the natural. Sometimes it's hidden behind simplicity, but it glows in the spirit realm. Angels recognize it. Demons respect it. Doors open because of it. Assignments find you because of it. You're not who they think you are. You are so much more, not because of ego, but because of purpose. The crown carries cost, but it also carries access. Favor will begin to chase you, not because you're chasing fame, but because you're aligned with the throne. And here's what few will tell you. With every crown comes a cross. Glory and weight walk together. This is not ease, it's elevation. Not rest, it's readiness. The crown calls you higher, calls you deeper, calls you responsible. And yet, in all this weight, you are not alone. The King who crowned you walks beside you. Every battle, every betrayal, every burden, he feels it too. You're not just crowned, you're covered. So wear it now, with quiet authority, with bold peace, with unshakable grace. Don't wait for the world to see it. Heaven already has, and that's enough. Mark this moment with the words, "Crown received," to confirm you will carry this crown with reverence, not reluctance. The call has gone out. The sealed ones are stirring. The ancient fire has returned to its rightful vessels, and now comes the next cry from heaven, "Summon the marked ones." There is a trembling in the spirit, a shaking not caused by noise, but by alignment. As you awaken, others are beginning to stir. Some don't yet have language for it, but their spirit knows. They feel the tension, the restlessness, the internal discontent with the ordinary, the divine dissatisfaction with the shallow. That's not coincidence. That's the call echoing from your life. You are not just awakening, you are activating others. Your obedience is sending shockwaves into dry places. Your yes is cracking open the crust around sleeping hearts. This is what it means to be marked. Not just to carry the fire, but to ignite it in others. Chosen one. You were never meant to walk alone. The marked ones are not solitary stars, they are constellations. They align. They respond to each other's frequencies. They sharpen, strengthen, confirm, and ignite. And now, the summoning begins. You don't summon with volume. You summon with presence. You summon with purity. You summon by being fully who you were created to be. When a marked one sees another walking boldly in their mantle, something in them catches fire. It's not imitation, it's ignition. This is why you must not shrink. The time for hiding is over. The tribe is looking for a sound, not a performance. And your sound carries weight. It may not look like theirs. It may not speak with polish or perfection. But it burns. And heaven only answers fire. When Jesus walked the earth, he didn't need to advertise. His presence summoned, his purity summoned, his authority summoned. People were drawn not just to his miracles, but to his mantle. And you, who are seated with him in heavenly places, carry that same spirit. As Paul reminds us in Romans 8, the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. The earth itself is waiting for you. Not for a better version of you, not for a more impressive, more polished, more acceptable you. For you fully revealed, fully surrendered, fully blazing. There are people tied to your obedience. Their next step is linked to your boldness. Their hunger is stirred by your holiness. Their healing is waiting in the shadow of your courage. When you walk in your assignment, you don't just move for yourself, you open doors for others. Heaven doesn't work through isolation. It moves through alignment. And when marked ones begin to move together, when oil meets oil, when fire meets fire, the atmosphere shifts. Regions are reclaimed. Bloodlines are healed. Nations are shaken. There is a generation that doesn't need more noise, they need sound. Prophetic sound. Heaven-born declarations. Intercessory fire. Unfiltered truth. And the only ones who can release it are the ones who have been sealed for such a time as this. This is why your voice must rise. Not for attention, but for activation. Not to trend, but to gather. Because heaven is calling the marked ones to converge. Not in one city, not under one name, but in one spirit. You are part of this. And if you felt the fire growing heavier, if you felt heaven pressing in, it's because the time is now. This is not theory anymore. It's movement. You are no longer just preparing, you are releasing. So let the marked ones hear you. Let them feel the weight of your words. Let them recognize their own fire in your flame. This is how we gather. This is how heaven builds voice to voice, flame to flame, altar to altar. You don't have to scream. You don't have to strive. Just burn. Just be. Just walk in what's already resting on you. And the ones assigned to you will come. They'll find you not because you promoted yourself, but because you carried what they needed. And when they come, make room. Make space in your life, not just for growth, but for glory. Welcome the marked ones, not with noise, but with nourishment. Feed their spirits. Sharpen their edge. Call forth the lion inside them. We are not building a following. We are building a family. A tribe sealed in fire and sustained by honor. A people bound not by preference, but by purpose. If this word is stirring your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Pass it on. Share it with someone who's been feeling the press, the call, the burn. Your obedience may be the spark that lights another torch. Subscribe to stay connected, not for numbers, but for nourishment, for continuity, for oil that doesn't run dry. The well is open, but it stays open when the remnant gathers. If you've been fed here, if this word is aligning something in you, consider sowing into what heaven is doing, not as payment, but as partnership. Sacred words deserve sacred response. When we give, we're not tipping a messenger, we're honoring the mantle. And make no mistake, what's being built here isn't a brand. It's a bonfire, a furnace for marked ones. And every flame, every share, every prayer, every seed fans it brighter. We are summoning the ones hell hoped would stay silent, and they are waking up because you dared to burn, because you dared to walk crowned, because you dared to say yes when no one was watching. Let the sealed arise. Let the marked converge. The final tribe is gathering, and you are sounding the call. There comes a moment when all the waiting, the pressing, the preparing must give way to motion. The oil is ready. The altar is built. The vessel is surrendered. And heaven says, now, not next year, not once everything makes sense, not after another confirmation. Now, chosen one, the final delay is over. You've been tested in ways that words cannot capture. Your timeline looked frozen while others advanced. Doors seemed locked that should have opened. Relationships fell away without clear cause. What you didn't see was the divine resistance, God's hand holding things still until your oil reached full potency. This wasn't punishment. This wasn't rejection. It was timing. Heaven doesn't rush what it intends to last. Heaven withholds not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. And now, after years of inner war and wilderness, groaning, the waiting lifts. The winds shift. The gate opens. It's not a metaphor. It's a real, tangible, spiritual release. You'll feel it before you see it. The way peace replaces striving. The way doors open without knocking. The way your voice finds a rhythm. Your hands a purpose. Your presence a weight. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right on time for the divine interruption. In Habakkuk 2, San, the prophet writes, though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. The time of lingering is done. The delay has served its purpose. And heaven is moving now. That means movement in areas you gave up on. A stirring in places that once looked dead. A quickening in your spirit, in your feet, in your mouth. The hesitation that once held you back is being replaced with divine urgency. This urgency is not panic. It's precision. It's clarity. It's knowing deep in your bones that the time for excuse is over. The time for questioning your authority is over. The time for wondering if you're worthy is over. You are being released not because you are perfect, but because you are ready. Ready does not mean flawless. It means surrendered, aligned, present. And you are. So now the heavens declare over your life. Advance. Move forward with what you were given in the cave. Speak what you heard in the silence. Release what was birthed in the crushing. You do not need another sign. You are the sign. For many, this will not make sense. They will say you're too sudden, too bold, too intense. But they did not see what God built in you. They did not witness the nights you bled on the altar. They did not see the cost behind your quiet. And they are not meant to understand. Because when God ends a delay, He rarely explains it. He just moves. And you must move with Him. Without apology. Without overthinking. Without rehearsing all the reasons why now shouldn't be the time. Now is the time. The delay has ended. The command has been spoken. The scroll is open, and the ink is still warm. Let the fear fall off. Let the doubts dissolve. Heaven never asked you to be strong, only obedient. You don't need to see the whole map. Just take the next step. The path will light as you move. The enemy will try to whisper hesitation. He'll replay the rejections, the past failures, the unhealed wounds, but none of those matter anymore. Heaven has declared movement, and heaven outranks every voice of delay. You're not running ahead of God. You're walking in step with His release. You're not forcing doors open. You're answering the invitation. And it's time to say yes again, not the cautious yes, but the courageous one. This is not about ambition. This is about assignment. You don't need to build an empire. You need to be faithful with the flame. You don't have to gather crowds. Just follow the cloud. You're not launching something for validation. You're releasing what's been locked in you for years. And what comes now will move faster than what came before. Not because you've changed the strategy, but because heaven has changed the season. When delay breaks, there's a divine acceleration. Things that should have taken years will take months. Connections will be forged without striving. Resources will come through unexpected channels. The ones who overlooked you will hear your name in places they cannot ignore. But even more powerful than the external shift is the internal one. The war inside your mind, your identity, your confidence. It's breaking. You'll walk with clarity now. Speak with fire now. See with vision now. Because the fog of delay has lifted, and when you look back, you'll see what the delay actually was. A sacred cocoon, a refining forge, a holy silence that grew your spine. You'll be grateful for what didn't come sooner, because now you can carry it. There is no more need to explain yourself, no more proving, no more waiting on permission from systems that never saw you. You've heard from the throne, and that is enough. Walk in the now anointing. The final delay is over. There are moments in your journey when everything changes, not because the world around you shifts, but because you do. Deep within, something clicks. The veil lifts. The weight makes sense. The battles begin to look like birth pains. And suddenly, what once seemed random becomes revelation. Chosen one. You are standing in such a moment now. Not a feeling. Not a coincidence. a divine marker in your timeline, one that heaven has been building toward for years. This is prophetic completion. There is a number tied to this moment, a number that speaks of cycles ending, fullness coming, and divine order being established. 777. This is not superstition. This is symbolism. Heaven often speaks in patterns through numbers, timings, sequences, and 777 is heaven's stamp that the construction season is ending and the commissioning season is here. You've walked through wilderness seasons that stripped you down to nothing but surrender. You've watched as others sprinted ahead while you stood still in obedience. But what you couldn't see was the Spirit building within you a foundation strong enough to outlast storms. What felt like delay was a finishing. What felt like punishment was preparation. You were being completed. Every flaw confronted. Every lie uprooted. Every idol shattered. And now, the final touches are being placed. As we read in Philippians 1, Lu, he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. The work is still ongoing, but the foundation has been finished. The core has been carved. The seal has been set. Completion doesn't mean ease. It means readiness. You are ready to carry weight without cracking. Ready to speak without shrinking. Ready to release without running. You are being established. Not for exposure, but for effectiveness. There's a difference. This is why certain doors didn't open when you begged. Why certain people left when you needed them most. Complétion requiert subtraction. And now, with everything unnecessary stripped away, your spirit is light. Your flame is pure. Your direction is clear. This is the moment to stop circling. The cycles are complete. The old lessons have been learned. The old you has been buried. Resurrection life is taking over. And resurrection is never quiet. It shifts everything. You're not stepping out as the same person. The one who doubted. The one who hid. The one who feared rejection. That version died in the fire. What rises now is built in truth. No more pretending. No more shape-shifting to fit atmospheres that dishonor your calling. This is the rise of the real you. The one who prays with accuracy. The one who sees through spiritual fog. The one who walks into a room and reorders chaos without a word. The one who carries kingdom blueprints and apostolic weight. You are not just a voice, you are a vessel of completion. Everything is aligning now. Your internal world is coming into agreement with what heaven already knew. You're not just hoping anymore, you're moving in faith. You're not just longing anymore, you're living as one sent. Completion always births clarity. The next steps may not be fully visible, but the posture is, you are no longer crawling through the wilderness, you are marching into destiny. Your spirit is in sync. Your oil is settled. Your voice is weighted. You are ready. And from this moment forward, nothing can stay the same. Because when heaven completes a vessel, it begins to fill it. With wisdom, with power, with precision. The prophetic is sharpening. The vision is stabilizing. The assignment is being unpacked in real time. There is no need to force anything. You are not running out of time, you are running into it. Divine acceleration honors those who stewarded the slow seasons with reverence. Heaven will now multiply what once felt minuscule. The small acts of faith, the quiet moments of surrender, the prayers no one saw, all of it is coming back, multiplied. Because this is the reward of those who waited well. Completion doesn't come with applause. It comes with activation. And you are being activated now, not just for a season, but for a movement. You don't need a crowd to confirm it. The oil confirms it. The peace confirms it. The fire in your belly confirms it. Let the past be sealed. Let the future unfold. Walk forward, not wondering if it's time, but knowing it is. Because when 777 shows up, it's not just a number, it's heaven saying, "It is finished. Now begin." Seal it in the comments. 777 as a prophetic sign that the cycles are closed and the commissioning has begun. Some people despised your wilderness. They saw it as evidence that you were off course, that your prayers had failed, that you had somehow lost the favor of God. But what they couldn't see, what they were never supposed to understand, is that the wilderness was the training ground of the chosen. The desert was never about punishment. It was about preparation. It was in that lonely, dry, and silent place that your roots grew deep, where your identity was not fed by applause, but by assignment, where no crowds were present to applaud your revelation, no titles to confirm your calling, just dust and the whisper of God. In the wilderness, everything you leaned on was stripped away. Platforms, people, patterns, and in their absence, you discovered what remained. The unshakable voice of the one who called you. You learned to recognize him in ways you never would have in comfort. You learned the rhythm of his breath, the weight of his silence, the fire of his correction. You were not being punished, you were being disciplined. And discipline is the signature of beloved sons and daughters. Hebrews 12:6 reminds us, "The Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son." Your wilderness was not proof of abandonment. It was proof of adoption. You were never forgotten. You were being forged. That's why the attacks increased. Why your name was dragged. Why your motives were questioned. Because the enemy always tries to assassinate the identity of those being trained to carry weight. He hoped you'd confuse isolation with insignificance. But you didn't. Somewhere in the wilderness, a holy defiance was born in you. You learned how to fight without a microphone, how to pray without a crowd, how to worship with nothing but breath. And heaven recorded it all. Every cry, every journal entry, every whisper of surrender, all of it has been stored as incense. You were being broken to be trusted. God was not trying to make you popular, he was trying to make you powerful. Not loud, lethal. And the wilderness gave you what no classroom could. Spiritual resilience. You don't fold under pressure anymore. You don't run when misunderstood. You don't need validation to obey. Because the wilderness killed your craving for applause. It stripped you of ego and dressed you in oil. Now, when you speak, heaven moves. When you show up, hell adjusts. Not because you learned better language, but because you carry a wilderness weight. A presence that says, "I've been with him." A residue that only comes from fire. No one can fake wilderness fruit. It has a flavor deep, unshaken, tested. And you, chosen one, carry it. There were times you begged God to end it. Times you felt abandoned, betrayed, even cursed. But now you see, the wilderness was holy. The desert was sacred. It wasn't a holding cell, it was a refining chamber. Every prophet, every deliverer, every reformer has walked through it. Moses met God in it. Elijah was restored in it. Jesus was tested in it. And you, too, emerged from it, not empty, but equipped. It taught you that anointing doesn't come from being chosen alone. It comes from being crushed. Now you carry something dangerous, a calling purified by pain, You can't be manipulated by platforms. You won't be bought by comfort. You don't chase stages. You follow the cloud. Because the wilderness taught you to move with presence, not preference. This is why heaven can trust you now. You've been trained in obscurity. You've warred without witnesses. You've grown in drought. And because of that, you're immune to performance. You don't need applause to obey. You don't need spotlight to shine. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Now, you can discern what others miss. You can intercede when others distract. You can hear the whispers in crowded rooms, because wilderness trained your senses, sharpened your spirit, and sealed your identity. No one can take from you what you learned in the cave, and no one can replicate it. So walk tall, not because you're perfect, but because you're proven. You know what it cost. You know what it took. And heaven knows too. The wilderness didn't break you. It built you. Sometimes, heaven doesn't speak through lightning. Sometimes, it speaks through interruption, through the shift in your breath, the weight in your chest, the moment where everything around you stills because something holy is approaching. You're in that moment now. Chosen one. This is heaven's emergency broadcast. It won't come through a burning bush or a trembling mountain. It comes through these words, written in fire. It comes through a sense that what you're hearing isn't just instruction, it's intervention. God is not whispering this time. He's sending a signal, because some alignments must happen now. Some awakenings can't be postponed. Some destinies must be rescued in real time. He's not trying to scare you, he's trying to spare you. Spare you from mediocrity, from delayed obedience, from the comfort that sedates calling. There is a window, and it will not stay open forever. You've come too far to turn casual now. Too much has been invested in your life for you to play safe. You've survived too much to coast. You were not revived to relax, you were revived to release. This moment is not one to observe, it's one to obey. When heaven sends an emergency broadcast, it means mercy is still speaking. Judgment hasn't fallen yet. Grace still pleads. The Spirit is still hovering, waiting for agreement. But make no mistake, delayed obedience is disobedience. When you feel heaven press this hard, it means timing is involved. That what you say yes to now will shape what unfolds next. The enemy knows this. 2. That's why distraction has intensified, why fatigue has whispered compromise, why your vision has been under attack. But this is no longer about survival, it's about stewardship. You're being called not just to protect the oil, but to pour it. To step into places you feel underqualified for. To obey instructions that feel uncomfortable. To walk through doors without needing a second opinion. Because the hour is late, and the harvest is ready, and heaven is looking for the surrendered. Paul wrote in Romans 13, "She, the hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." That urgency isn't metaphor, it's prophetic. The time for passivity is over. The time for lukewarm living is over. The time for hesitating at the edge of your assignment is over. You either step in or stay stuck. And heaven is no longer tolerating delay. This broadcast isn't for the casual. It's for the consecrated, for the ones who feel the pull, for the ones who've been sensing something massive about to break, but didn't know how close it really was. You don't need another prophecy. This is your prophecy. You don't need another door. Obedience is the door. You don't need another sign. This is the trumpet sounding over your soul. Wake up. Move, now. No more delay. There are territories waiting on your voice, rooms waiting on your presence, systems waiting on your strategy. And they will not be reached by the reluctant, only the ready. But here's the sacred truth. Readiness is not about how much you know. It's about how much you yield. You don't have to feel ready, you just have to obey. This is not about speed. It's about surrender. Not about perfection, but position. Posture yourself now. Lay down every weight. Confess what must be released. Burn what must be buried. The fire won't wait. There's mercy in this message. Mercy that still speaks before judgment. Mercy that reaches before silence. Mercy that says, I still want you, because the Spirit is not giving up on you. He's leaning in. Heaven is interrupting everything to get your attention, because something in you is too valuable to let die, too costly to let fade, too needed to stay buried. The trumpet is not just a sound, it's a separation between who you were and who you're becoming, between the delay and the destiny, between the distraction and the directive. The broadcast is holy. Let it do its work. Let it expose what must be expelled. Let it stir what has settled. Let it awaken what's been dormant. No one else may understand this urgency, but you do, because your spirit hears what your ears cannot. And that is the sign that heaven is still near. Respond to it, not with emotion, but with movement, with silence before the throne, with whispered surrender, with open hands and steady steps. This is your emergency broadcast, and it has reached you in time. There are certain messages that don't just speak, they strike. They bypass the mind and go straight to the spirit. They stir something deep that's been waiting to surface. Chosen one. This is one of those messages, not because of eloquence, but because of alignment. You didn't find this word, it found you. And not for entertainment, for equipping. Because what you're carrying cannot go dormant again. What was awakened in you isn't just emotional fire, it's holy purpose. By now, you felt it. The weight, the wind, the whisper. You are not who you used to be. And no matter how much the world tries to distract, your spirit has already decided, I will not go back. You've been called, you've been sealed, and now you're being sent. Not away from yourself, but fully into who you are. The oil that rests on your life wasn't poured casually. It was costly. There were moments no one saw, hours of weeping, months of wilderness, years of wondering if the promise was still true. And yet here you are, not perfect, but positioned. You don't carry hype, you carry history, with God. And that history is what makes you dangerous to darkness. In 1 Thessalonians 1, it is written, our gospel came to you not simply with words, but also with power, with the Holy Spirit, and deep conviction. That's how this word is reaching you now. Not with noise, but with power. Not to tickle the ears, but to pierce the spirit. And now, it's your turn to release the sound. Because this isn't just about your personal breakthrough. This is a summoning. Every time you rise, someone else sees hope. Every time you speak truth, confusion clears. Every time you move in obedience, territory shifts. That's why you can't keep this to yourself. Share this word. Let others who've been in silence find their roar again. Someone else's yes might depend on yours. This movement is not built by marketing, it's built by the mouths of the marked. You carry this fire, and every time you pass it on, another soul is activated. Let this not end with you, let it multiply through you. If this word has stirred you, strengthened you, awakened you, then stay close. Subscribe, not just for updates, but for alignment. We're building something sacred here, and sacred things need consistency, not convenience. The feed is full of noise, but this space is being carved out for flame, for clarity, for kingdom voices who are done with fluff and ready for fire. And if that's you, then you belong here. And if your heart has been burning to support what's being built here, do so with boldness. There's no pressure. But for those who feel led, know that your gift isn't just financial, it's prophetic. It fuels reach. It extends flame. It fans revival. Every share, every gift, every comment, every prayer, it adds oil to the altar. We don't gather here to be seen. We gather to be sent. We don't post for popularity. We release for purity. Every word, every video, every whisper from heaven is part of something eternal. And you, chosen one, are part of it. So don't stay silent. This world needs your obedience. This generation needs your sound. The final tribe is rising, and your voice is one of the signals heaven is amplifying. Let this space continue to be a place of encounter, a place of recalibration, a place where the weightless cannot remain. Share this word with someone who's been walking with silent fire. Let it call their name like it called yours. Let it shake the dust off their scroll. Let it remind them, you are not forgotten. And if you're still reading now, it's because you are one of the ones. Not just inspired, but ignited. Stay connected. Stay aligned. Stay faithful. The wind of heaven is moving, and you, chosen one, are moving with it. And if your heart has been burning to support what's being built here, do so with boldness, not out of obligation, but out of overflow. When a word marks you, sometimes your response must go beyond silence. Giving in the kingdom is not just currency, it's confirmation. It says, this moved me, this mattered, I'm part of this. No amount is too small when it's wrapped in faith, and no act of honor goes unseen by heaven. If this space has become your well, your altar, your place of alignment, then sow into it with confidence. You're not funding content, you're fueling fire. Every offering becomes a torch passed forward so another voice can be reached, another soul ignited, another chosen one awakened. There is a rhythm to revelation. First, God heeds you. Then, honors you. Finally, heralds you. And chosen one, you are entering the hour of announcement. You've been hidden, not out of rejection, but protection. There were battles you had to fight alone because the oil being formed in you couldn't be contaminated by crowds. There were rooms you were never invited into, not because you were unworthy, but because your fire would have been mishandled by those who saw only surface. But now, the hiding is lifting, not because you chased exposure, but because heaven is ready to unveil what it formed. The mantle resting on your life is too weighty to stay under wraps forever. It was never meant to remain obscured. It was meant to be revealed at the appointed time. And that time has arrived. What's happening now is not fame, it's fulfillment. This is not your platform moment. This is your prophetic unveiling. The world is about to see what the wilderness shaped, what private obedience built, what hidden altars sustained. You're not rising because of marketing. You're rising because of mandate. The same God who refined you in silence is now calling you into visibility, not for applause, but for assignment. The visibility is not the reward, it's the requirement. Your voice must be heard because it carries weight. Not noise, not trend. Weight. As Jesus declared in Matthew 5, "See, you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden." You've been under the covering, under the radar, under the pressure. But light doesn't stay buried. Fire doesn't remain unseen. Heaven never invests in invisibility without intending visibility. You are going from hidden to heralded, and you won't need to fight for it. This is not self-promotion. This is divine positioning. When God heralds someone, the announcement carries authority. No striving, no begging, no forcing open doors. Just the right time, the right wind, and the right release. And that's where you are now. The wind is shifting behind you. The earth is beginning to respond. The same spaces that ignored your obedience will now recognize your mantle, but don't be surprised when it happens quietly. Heaven rarely shouts what it can whisper. There's a humility that remains. Even in unveiling, you won't feel inflated. You'll feel entrusted. You'll walk with a quiet heaviness, not sorrow but sobriety. You'll move with reverence, knowing that you've been called not to impress but to impact. And when the questions come, when others ask, "Where did you come from?" you'll know the answer. From the wilderness, with fire. From the shadows, with oil. From brokenness, with glory. This is your time to release what's been guarded, to speak what you wrote in silence, to release what you carried in tears, to walk in what you've been dreaming about for years. There will be no grand announcement, no drum roll, just the quiet certainty that the heavens have shifted and you are being revealed. And those who are watching you now may not understand the cost. They may only see the moment, not the making. But heaven knows. Heaven sees. And heaven will supply every step. The rooms you'll be called into will not look like what you imagined. They won't be polished stages, necessarily. Some may be battlefields. Some may be back rooms. Some may be broken circles of influence that need healing, clarity, and fire. But you'll carry what's needed, because the ones who've been hidden in God emerge with power. Not the power of charisma, but the power of the cross. Not the polish of performance, but the presence of purity. And that's what you bring. Not just your words, but your weight. Not just your ideas, but your obedience. That's what will break the atmosphere open. So when the call comes, answer. When the scroll opens, read. When the invitation appears, step through. You don't need to second guess anymore. You've been through the crushing. You've been through the delay. You've passed through the fire. What remains now is the revealing. Walk through it with honor. Speak only what heaven gives. Move only when the cloud moves. And remain grounded in the one who found you first. In silence. In surrender. In fire. You are no longer the hidden one. You are the herald. The final are being made first. This isn't a poetic idea. It's a spiritual reality unfolding before your very eyes. The ones dismissed, overlooked, and forgotten are being summoned to the front. The ones who were last in line are now being repositioned, not by effort, but by divine reversal. Chosen one, you know what it's like to wait while others pass. You've blessed others while carrying your own burdens. You've celebrated what you didn't yet possess. And all the while, God was watching, measuring, weighing, preparing. This is the great reversal. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The wilderness wanderer is now leading cities. The silent intercessor is now shaping nations. Not because they sought promotion, but because they were faithful in obscurity. In Matthew 19, Sancho, Jesus declared, "But many who are first will be last, and many who are last will be first." That time is now. The order is shifting. The spiritual tables are turning. You are being called forward, not as a replacement, but as a remnant, not to mimic what failed, but to restore what was lost. You carry the blueprint of heaven, etched not in stone, but in surrender. And now, it's time to build. The final tribe is being sealed, and your name has not been skipped. The trumpet has sounded, the scrolls have opened, the remnant is rising, and you, the one who felt least qualified, have been marked for the front lines. This is not the end. This is the shift. The last have not missed their moment. They've been preserved for it. Chosen one. If these words stirred your spirit, if something inside you burned, awakened, aligned, no, this was not just a message. This was a mantle, a reminder, a prophetic mirror held before your soul, reflecting who you truly are and have always been. You are not confused. You are being clarified. You are not behind. You are being positioned. You are not random. You are remembered. And now, the final tribe has been sealed. You are among them, not just to witness history, but to make it. If this series has been your confirmation, your spark, your sword in the quiet, don't let it end here. Share it. Let it pass from fire to fire. Someone else is wandering in silence, waiting for this exact sound. Let them hear it through you, like this word, to keep it lit. Not for the algorithm, but because engagement keeps the oil flowing. Heaven watches even our smallest acts of honor. Leave a comment below, not for show, but for sealing. Say what the Spirit stirred. Say what you're claiming. This is not a stage, it's an altar. And if this space has become your well, your furnace, your fuel, stay close. Subscribe and remain connected to the sound that keeps your flame alive. We are not building hype. We are building holy ground. And to those who feel led to sow, thank you. You are not tipping a messenger. You are partnering with a move. Your giving makes room for another voice to be reached, another chosen one to be sealed. Every flame added strengthens the fire. This is only the beginning. You've been marked. Now move like it. You are chosen. You are burning, and the world will never be the same.